All right, Chris, what did you disagree with?
Well, it's a few points that you made. Leftist police are better for society.
Alrighty, and we already got.
I would say America was never great.
Hmm.
Faith is unreliable. Probably every single point that you made, but we'll go ahead and dissect the first point. America was never great. When you make that statement or assertion, are you trying to state that America is not great for any people, or only pertaining to Black people?
Uh, really, I'm talking about pertaining to Black people, but because Black people are citizens of America, they're part of America. If it's not great for them, then the country can't be great either.
Okay. Okay, I see your point. I'm going to ask you another question.
Hmm.
What country or nation in the world produces the most Black millionaires? I'll let you answer
United
that.
United States.
Okay. So, but your first, that would be in conflict with your first statement. If the United States produces the most Black millionaires,
Hmm.
how then would it not be great
Racism.
in some aspect? You said it's not great for Black people, but it's producing the most Black millionaires.
So
So explain that to me.
racism still exists.
So we're not talking about racism.
Yeah,
You
we are.
don't
That's what makes it not
red
great.
don't
That's what makes it not great.
no. It is
Yes.
great, but racism exists.
Right.
That's what you call. You're straw manning the argument. The
No, I'm not.
argument. I'm
I'm not.
going off of
Adam.
your
Adam.
statement,
Adam. 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 I'm sorry. Was your name Adam or
Chris.
Eric?
Chris.
Chris. I'm
No,
sorry.
Chris. I'm sorry.
Wow. That was
No,
way
it's
off.
okay.
Apologize. All right. So, Chris, the reason why it's not great is just because it produces millionaires doesn't mean that it's great. Because in 1960, it was also producing Black millionaires, but we all know what's going on in the 1960s, right? Just because millionaires exist doesn't make it great.
You said okay. I'm going to try to hold you to one certain point. I don't like derailing and going off on like a tangent. So, in order for, because I'm trying to understand your point, you said America is not great for Black people. You said, is that sociologically, economically, and what aspect were you speaking that America isn't great? If you're talking economically, America is great for Black people. You just said it. You said no other country produces more millionaires than America. Sociologically, I can sort of see your point to where you said, racism is bad in any aspect. I'm a Black man. Nobody wants to be, treated, bad. But you have to take into consideration that time back then and this time now. I would say that it's much better than it was back then. Sociologically, we didn't have rights. You weren't able to communicate with a white person without being treated very badly. So I think the times have changed. So economically, America is the best spot for Black people. Sociologically, what is the best place for the Black community, in your opinion?
Probably Canada, but even economically, that's still not the case because even though millionaires exist, again, like when we had Jim Crow, there were millionaires, but we do know that there was economic discrimination
Okay.
against Black people, despite the
We're
fact that they were
talking about
millionaires.
today.
Hold on, I'm getting to that. So when it comes to
Okay.
today, we still see that there's still economic discrimination against Black people in the housing market, in employment, and even in education. So like it's already been shown in several research studies that a Black person with the same experience and degrees as a white applicant is still less likely to get the job or still likely to be employed at the same firm. And not only that, they're still less likely to get paid less at that same firm. That's been a researched as well, where Black employees who are seniors, same exact position, same exact experience, they're likely to get paid less. So when we say economically is
Okay.
better for Black people just because there are millionaires, that's still ridiculous because like just because there's Black millionaires doesn't mean that overall Black people still aren't discriminated against economically. So even economically,
Okay.
is not great.
Okay. If it's not great, first, you said something about in the housing market. You're you made a claim that we can, I guess, build wealth economically when it comes. You're referring to real estate, like we can purchase land and sell land, or what
I'm
like.
not saying that we can't. I'm saying that black applicants, when it comes to real estate, are discriminated against, and this has been shown in several HUD studies
Can
for
you
the HUD and
can you list your source? And I don't mean anything as an anomaly. I mean straight across the board. I'm not talking about redlining. I'm talking about specifically where black people are trying to. I'm not talking about getting loans, purchase land or purchase real estate to sell, and you're saying they are being discriminated against. Granted, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm not talking about a one-off. I'm not talking about an anomaly that is outside of the normal practices.
yeah.
You
Not
know,
now that
so
I'm not talking about
what source are
anomalies.
you stating?
The source that I'm using
Okay, so what
is
source?
the HUD, the housing association, the Federal Housing Association. They research this like almost every year, and they show that black applicants are still discriminated against in mortgage. And as a matter of fact, every single year
I'm
there's
not talking
always
about
a
mortgages. I'm talking about purchasing for real estate.
that's a
I'm talking
mortgage.
about no. When you're purchasing a land to sell, if you're in a real estate business, you're buying and selling. I'm talking about strictly not so much places to live, but black people, a real estate mogul who is buying properties and selling them. I'm not talking about purchasing a home. That's what I said. I'm not talking about redlining to where they were discriminated against as far as getting a loan.
Mhm.
Although there should be some type of system implemented because banks only make money off of debt. That's how they make money. So if they are purposely seeking out low income, you know, um, communities and trying to sell debt to them, knowing they cannot pay back that debt in enough time to make the interest stay equal, I believe there's a problem with that. If they are purposely seeking for people with bad credit to go out there, knowing the debt is going to be paid back, but just so that they can raise the interest on that debt, there's a problem.
Yeah, and
So,
those and the research shows that that's happening too, specifically towards black people.
okay, so I still, you said that the HUD researcher, I've never heard of whatever research firm that you're referring to actually putting out those statements that black people are discriminated against when it comes to trying to purchase,
Okay, let me ask you this
land
question. Let me ask you this
or
question.
houses.
Let me ask you this question. What did you
Okay.
research into it?
A lot of, I listed one, thing that happened back in the day with redlining and stuff.
Okay, I know.
There's a
I'm
lot.
talking about contemporarily. Have you researched that if there's discrimination within real estate contemporarily? Because when you do that research, like it would show what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like there's discrimination against black people in mortgages and appraisals, and you said purchasing land, right? I'm
Okay.
not sure about purchasing land,
Yeah.
but I think it's in that too, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on it. But when it comes, but most people aren't purchasing land. Most people are purchasing homes. You know what I'm saying? So because like no
Okay.
one's really out west like that. But I mean, there are people out west, but no
Okay.
one's going out west to buy homes. But I mean, buy land. I'm talking about. But when it comes to like what most people do in the real estate market, which is purchasing homes and appraising homes, black people are mostly discriminated against in those fields.
Okay. I'm not gonna disagree with you on that front. I do believe discrimination and prejudice, it exists in the world. I do. It's prevalent. You can see just how people react to you when you come around. I don't want to dismiss, what you're saying. What I'm saying to your first claim, to bring it back to a point, is that you said in no time has America ever been great, but you have examples of America being great. When with Tulsa, Oklahoma, granted, what transpired, it getting destroyed. But you also said that economically, no other country produces more black millionaires than here. One of the richest black women in the world is Oprah Winfrey.
Hmm.
What other country, African country, would you have placed her in that she would have been able to sustain that much wealth? Most places are either socialist or communist. So there's no, being able to get a whole bunch of wealth. Everything is, sort of trickle economics.
How do you explain
So
China?
you tell me, huh?
How do you explain China?
What do you mean? How do you explain China?
China's socialist and there's billionaires there.
Yeah, but you have to see in which how are they garnering their money? How are they? And I can't speak on
Businesses.
China's economy
Hmm.
because yeah, but the government plays a huge role in
Hmm.
how they go about setting up accounts. Because if you as an American you go over to China, there I think is a 15% and I need to do more research on it, but you have to give up 15% of either the ideals of your company or something. There's a certain percentage that you have to give up to the government in order for you to go do business over there.
Yeah,
Their government
they
has
regulate
much
a lot.
more. Yeah, it's heavily regulated. So I wouldn't use that as an example as to socialism actually being beneficial to the people because it's not. They're a communist country,
Okay,
and
so let me ask
yeah,
you this question: if it's not
yeah,
beneficial, why like when you actually look into like the metrics over there in China, they actually do have like healthier people than we have here in the United States. Uh, like there's less corruption in their businesses, and when there is corruption, the government actually punishes that corruption within their governance and within their businesses. There are people
well,
who own there are more homeowners over there in China than do over here. The education system is better than it is over here. So if it's not good, why is China now is going to overtake America probably within the next 10, 15 years as the largest economy on the planet? Yeah, I mean, because the government plays a large
you
role
said in the
in
next
regulating,
what?
probably in the next 10 years.
Um. Okay, I don't have the statistics readily in front of me to either agree or disagree with you on that front as to if they'll surpass the United States. However, I can say we do have the best GDP out of any country and or per capita, I should say. So our system, the capitalistic system that we have, I would say is better than the communist system they have. And if it was so good over there, they wouldn't, be trying to, I guess, get their current leader out of office. There
Yeah,
would there wouldn't be,
right. The current leader is basically an infighting thing because they want to the army wants to invade Taiwan and he doesn't yet. But yeah, I'm checking. Yeah, the GDP of the U.S. is larger than it is in China. Right, we're number one, they're number two.
yeah,
But when it comes
yes,
to when it comes to when it comes to their economy and their actual society, they have way we have way more like public infrastructure than we have. Like I said, the education system
okay,
is better than ours. They have a high standard of living. Yeah, all that is all good and well, right? We do have like a very large economy, right?
okay.
But especially with
But
the
I'm
administration
trying,
now,
I'm
we're
trying,
being a
I'm
lot
trying to.
more isolationist. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to because I don't want to go off the rails. The point is that you were talking about the community, and we specifically said the black community. So you tell me, how would, let's say, you adapt Marcus Garvey belief of going back to Africa. Let's use China as an example. How would economically and even sociologically could a black man or a person who is not well off and you place them in China,
Hmm.
how would they make money? How would they grow their wealth? I'm just not talking about surviving the new environment. I mean actually thriving. How outside of the U.S., and I won't even give you, I don't want to just keep you confined to China. You tell me any country that if you take a poor black man with $1 and a dream, you place him there, where would he have his best chance of making his first million?
Canada, probably. Yeah, are we talking about like an English speaker?
No.
Are we talking about like an English speaker?
Any country in this world. Why did you go back to?
Right.
Why did you revert
I'm going to explain why. Because
a predominantly white? But hold on. Why would you revert to a predominantly white country? Why wouldn't you go to Africa or the Middle East?
Because I'm looking at this from an American lens, right? So I'm thinking that you're gonna take a black American person. That person probably speaks English. So why would I put them in the middle of Congo where they speak French? That wouldn't make any sense.
Not, but there's a lot of English speaking South African countries. There's a lot, but you automatically went to Canada. You didn't even attempt to go
because the culture is.
You didn't attempt to go to anywhere in Africa. Why is that?
Because the culture is similar. So why would I take them somewhere that's not culturally similar? Why would I do that?
But that's,
all that,
but
all that. Your question depends on all of that. It depends on language, cultural similarity, all of that. So if not Canada, then I'll send them to the UK because the cultural similarity.
Wow, that sounds extremely prejudiced. That you're not even giving you're not even having them go amongst their people to become economically sustainable. You're automatically going. You went from Canada to the UK. You're not even attempting to go to a predominantly
black
Afrocentric country.
We can go to a predominantly because of cultural similarity. Are you denying that?
Hold on.
Let me ask you a question.
With other Africans?
Yeah, of course we do. What I'm asking is that the way that America. Let me listen to my question. Are you denying that America, Canada, and the UK are like the cultures there, the way that the country operates, they're extremely similar? They're very similar, right?
No.
They're very similar.
No. How many black athletes have Canada produced?
I don't know.
Black millionaires. I'm talking about million. How many LeBron James have Canada produced? So what do you mean?
That's irrelevant. That's not what you were asking about.
How was that irrelevant?
That's not what you were asking about.
That is how. Okay. That is how we garner money, right?
We don't just garner money through sports.
That's how
what are you talking about? We don't just garner money through sports. Because when I say that these countries operate in a very, very similar fashion, then you ask me how many Canadian LeBron James there are. That's kind of ridiculous. We don't just make money that we don't just make money that way. When I say culturally,
but you said
when I say culturally, I'm talking about how the societies operate. Nigeria doesn't operate the way that the UK or Canada operate. So yeah, we'll kind of be lost over there if we go over there. But the people, like, we're very similar to Nigerians as far as that goes, but the way the countries operate, they're not the same.
So why did you pick Nigeria for your first?
Because the way the countries operate are not the same. I just told you the way the countries operate are not the same. So we're going to be unfamiliar.
What do you mean? How do they operate? How do we relate? Please tell your audience and myself how we relate to Canadians and other people, Anglo-Saxon country from the UK. How do black people, the black community, relate to them more than people from Africa?
Well, number one, when it comes to like the way that the societies ran through, like the governance, like individualism, things like things of that matter, the way like the thought process works, they operate more on an individualistic mindset than it would somewhere in Nigeria, where it's a lot more communal and it's a lot more clan based. We don't have clan based like a clan based system over here, but they do have it over there.
Okay, every country in Africa, and there's a lot of countries. Let's go with Northern Africa, Algeria.
Mm-hmm.
What is your excuse? There's no plans or whatever your tribunal.
Algeria's racist.
Leagues there.
Algeria's racist.
So I can at least so we can get to the point, because we have the other topics that you place, and I would like to get to those too. So I don't want to argue if it's racist or not, but I find it problematic that you stated that America was never great, but you could not list a single country in which I'm talking strictly for our community, where they would be able to thrive in.
I
did. First country when I asked you,
Canada, yeah, they were thriving in Canada.
We would be able to say, it's
Jesus
Canada.
Christ. Yeah, Canada.
Do you know what Okay.
Why would
Why
black
Canada?
people
Why Canada?
not be able to go to Canada and thrive there? Because there's already a black community in Canada that thrive there. So what are we saying?
Okay, what percentage? What percentage of Canada is black? I think Africa
About
has a
7.
larger black populace than Canada.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry,
if you
I'm just
think
saying.
if you
So
think
why
that we
wouldn't you
can
want us to go where there's more black
if you
people?
think that we can go to Africa and thrive, that's fine. I'm not beefing with you on that. Yeah, sure, we can go to Ghana and thrive too. I'm not saying that we can't.
Okay.
No one's saying that we can't, bro. But you asked
Okay.
me to list a country, and I was like, okay, let me think about the ones that operate similarly to the United States when it comes to the governance, when it comes to universities, when it comes to the way that businesses are set up. Which one operates similarly to the United States? And that's Canada. So I said, yeah, they'll be able to thrive in Canada. But if you want to like a whole new
Well, you can't.
system, sure. If you want
But
to
you're
go a
not
whole new system, you go to
producing.
Ghana. Ghana and
Okay,
Nigeria
but
have
I'm
billionaires.
asking you, how many millionaires, black millionaires,
I don't
has
know because I don't
Canada
live there, bro.
produced?
That doesn't matter. You said thrive. Thriving does
Okay,
not mean that you're a
it
millionaire.
matters.
No, it doesn't matter because Chris, does
I'm
thriving mean that you have to be a millionaire? Because I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire, but I own a house.
okay.
So you don't have to be a
I'm, ta-
millionaire
I'm
in order to hold on. You don't have to be a millionaire in order to thrive. So when you say thrive, I'm not thinking
okay.
about making millions because that's ridiculous.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough statement. I just want us to come to a point of agreement that you agree the best place for economically the black community is here in America. So we can go ahead and move on to sociologically. Where would the best place for the black community? America, you're the best place for the black community when it comes to economics. Now let's talk about sociologically. What country would you place us? If this place is so racist, this place is so gun ho on being prejudiced towards our people, where would you place us?
Somewhere back in Africa, if we could find our tribes.
So you would put us in Africa.
If we could find our tribes, yeah, sure.
Which country in Africa?
Depends on your where your both of your
No, it
ethnicity comes
doesn't.
from.
It should not depend. That is
Yeah,
our people.
no, not all of them.
You can say all of Africa.
No. We can't say all of Africa because that's not the way the world works, bro.
Okay. So pick a country in Africa. Ghana,
That depends.
Nigeria.
That depends on your tribe.
You have a lot.
Yeah, sure. For me,
we're not talking. I'm not talking about a tribunal league. I mean, just
I didn't say anything about.
I
didn't say anything about tribunal league. And what I'm saying is that you say just pick a place is overly simplistic because it depends on your people. It depends on your tribe. Africa still has a lot of issues with tribalism, which is something that we got. I know. Africa still has an issue with
blood.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
Why would all of that matter?
It matters because Africa still has an issue with tribalism, right? So that's why that matters. But if you just say pick a place,
break that down for me.
If you just say, what do you mean? What does that mean? Africa has over 1,000 tribes, sometimes in one single country. So that's an issue, right?
So what does that mean? You're telling me black people will not be able to survive. So we have gains.
I didn't say we want to be able to survive.
So
that's not what I said.
They have the same mentality.
All right.
In Africa.
I'm gonna mute you real quick because you seem to not be picking up what I'm putting down. Listen to what I'm saying. We just can't pick a place in Africa. All right, that's not the way that's going to work, because Africa still has issues with tribalism. So yeah, if you want to go over there and survive and thrive, I'm talking to you about the reality situation. It's going to depend heavily on what tribe you're from. But if you just want to go ahead and pick a place somewhere that's culturally similar and somewhere that's sociologically similar, I'll probably say Ghana. Ghana doesn't have a lot of the sociological issues that somewhere like Nigeria has. Somewhere like Ghana would probably be better, or somewhere like Benin. It's probably even Burkina Faso if they can figure out their entire military situation. Probably some places like that. So we're talking about Senegambia, Senegal and Gambia, probably Nigeria, probably Ghana. Ghana's probably the best place, and probably Benin. But if you want to make it a very, very simple, those are probably the places, right? But the reality of the situation is that you should probably go to a spot where most of your tribal ethnicity comes from. That's probably the best thing to do. But if you want to go just to a simple spot, pick a place: Ghana, Nigeria, Benin, Burkina Faso, the Senegambia area. Does that make sense now?
Okay, you muted me. So, um, and I'm not trying to overtalk you, but I want to get out my points while you're talking, so I don't forget them. Because if once you're talking, and then the train of thought that I had, I may forget. So that's the only reason why I'm not trying to overtalk you. Um, but you listed Ghana. So two points I want to make. Here in America, they tell certain black people that maybe came from a different sociological status to, hey, you cannot go to certain neighborhoods, even though you may share the same skin color, you may share the same ancestry, you will not be accepted in this community because, as you said, it's a form of tribalism. You just went back and said that Africans, or, those people in Africa, they suffer from that same idealistic view that if you can't go to certain parts of Africa because you do not have a connection with whatever tribe that is in that region. Then you went on to list Ghana as your location that we would be able to go. On the last part of your list, you said faith is unreliable for finding truth. But yet you just listed a country that's over 70% Christian. So pick a Muslim country. I want you to pick a Muslim country. Well, you did. You picked Nigeria because Nigeria is heavily influenced. And I don't know if you know this, the north side of Nigeria, because I have family and friends over there. Not north side of Nigeria is heavily influenced by the Muslim or the Islam. They're heavily influenced by Islam. You get a black Christian who doesn't believe in Islam to go there, and if they come across a Nigerian who, let's say, is a Shiite, and he asks you what religion you believe in, and you say Christianity, or you say you're a Sunni Muslim, they're going to kill you on the spot. There is a genocide going on in Africa right now, to where they're going and they're annexing all of these lands from these other tribes that you were just talking about, and they're slaughtering these people, machetes and everything. So the little bit of so-called racism that we deal with in America is nothing to be compared to the genocide and brutality that's going on in Africa. And that's why the first country you listed as being a good station for black people was Canada. And then your next place was the UK, because everyone knows, just because you may share the same skin color and culturalism, it doesn't mean that you guys, will so-called be able to inhabit the same place. And that's the only point I'm trying to get you to understand.
All right, but Chris, no one disagreed with that, bro. So this entire diatribe you went on, what was the point of it? I never said that. I never said that if we just go to a place with all black people, we'll be fine. It's not what I said.
But
So
you said
when
America
it
was
comes,
never great.
because it never was. It never lived up to its principles. It wasn't great during slavery. It wasn't great during Jim Crow. It can't be great now because systemic racism. Yeah, sure. Economically, we could do great things here. But you could do great things. Like I said, you could do economic great things in Canada too. You know what I'm saying? But because that's what you asked. But the second thing that I
Okay,
would
well,
say, hold on, the
okay.
second thing that I would say is when I never said that, because of the issues of tribalism, like you can't go somewhere in the, like if you're a different tribe, you can't go somewhere in Africa. That's not really the way that it works. Like you can go somewhere else if you're a different tribe. We just know that there's still ethnic tensions over there. In places where there's ethnic
Okay,
tensions, hold on, let me finish. In places where there's ethnic tensions, like Nigeria, because
I'm gonna be
like when
yeah,
it comes to Nigeria, right? The entire Muslim Christian thing
yeah,
is really between the Fulani pastoralist and everybody else, right? Not
yeah,
everybody else, but yeah, exactly,
absolutely,
right, exactly. So
yeah.
the issue is more of an ethnic tension than is a religious one. But when it comes to the ethnic tensions, yeah, why would I put why I put people from America, from Black America, in a place where there's ethnic tensions? I'm not gonna do that. So you saying that,
Okay,
oh, okay, hold on. You saying that, oh, America has to be great because the Congo has ethnic tensions? That's kind of ridiculous. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna put you somewhere that's unsafe. Like I'm not
okay,
really sure what your, like. Here's the thing. I'm kind of struggling with what your point is, because you're it's like you're saying, I'm saying America was never great, therefore we should go to a place with ethnic tensions where you could die. Why would I do that?
No, the point I was trying to make is that we both agreed. After you said America wasn't great, I said, well, America has produced the most millionaires
Yeah.
out of any country for black people. So, secondly, I said, so economically, America is a good place for black people. Then I said, sociologically, the point that I was juxtaposing was America, although it has its races and maybe prejudice tendencies, is still the best place sociologically for black America. I
Right.
said
It's
in
safer
Africa, which
here.
is where,
Right. It's safer here.
yes,
I do agree
there
that
we go.
it's safer here than in the Congo because the Congo is going through a war. Like, but we know that already. But that doesn't mean that what goes on in America is still all well and dandy. That's my point. Just because we're not going
Okay,
through
well,
the
I never made that point.
yeah, right, exactly. So just because we're not going through the civil war like they're going through in Congo doesn't mean that systemic discrimination is now fine. That's kind of dumb.
Okay, so you said safe. Okay, so I'm going to break down your point. You said safety wise, you said America is a good, safe place. Economically, it's a good place. So what do you mean by great nation? If you have safety and you can build economical wealth, why wouldn't it be great?
Systemic discrimination still exists, my guy.
Wow. Okay, so because of discrimination, that
Makes it not
automatically
great. Yeah.
offsets any greatness.
Yes. Why would it not?
Explain.
America.
Explain.
What do you mean explain? Is discrimination a good thing?
Explain. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but you're
There you
saying
go.
it's
That's
so
it.
bad.
There you go. That's
It's
it.
so,
No, Paul, stop. That's it. Systemic discrimination makes it not great. And not only that, it's not even necessarily as safe because we both know as black men how we have to how we have to act around cops. And we both know because we have black women in our lives that the doctors are basically what the cops are to us. Like infant mortality and infant mortality and childbirth mortality for black women is astronomical in this country. So those are not good things, right? So until we change those things, those are not great. Yeah, sure. Like I have electricity, and when I walk out my house, I don't have to be worried about speaking a certain language. Well, maybe nowadays I have to worry about speaking a certain language, or else I get shot because of what's going on with ICE. But yeah, sure. When I go outside, there aren't child soldiers over there shooting people for diamonds that they're gonna sell to Europeans. Yeah, sure. That's not happening in America, right? That's all cool. That's all good and well. But when I go outside and a cop behind me and I'm afraid for my life, that's still a problem, isn't it?
Okay.
Like I don't want to do oppression Olympics, bro. Like I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in doing oppression Olympics. It's worse over there, so over here is good. That's not what I'm doing. Over here with the conditions that we have, yeah, economically I can make some money. Sociologically, I'm not going outside to a war zone. There's still issues here. That makes it not great. That's my point.
Okay, so are you okay? I understand your point. So you would be in search of perfection. What do you think could be wrong with the country, but would still have a great? Because every single country had a form of discrimination in some part or form. The Italians, when they first got here, was discriminated against. Mm-hmm. They were heavily the Irish were discriminated against. So I want to know what part, and they're not complaining about discrimination. So I want to know what would you say? Okay, this country can have this that's wrong with it and still be great. Because in my opinion, I think discrimination is such a low hanging fruit, at least for black people, because it's not stopping you from doing anything. It's not stopping you from doing anything. I don't know one scientist, one doctor, one entrepreneur, one real estate mogul who is black that has said discrimination has stopped me from getting to the point that I am at in my life. So you have to tell me what part or how serious is discrimination? What is it really stopping black people from doing?
Building wealth.
We just went over this, that they built wealth. We have the most
what is the average wealth of a black family in America?
Well, when you I don't
$9,000. The average wealth of a black family in America is $5,000 and is trending towards zero by 2050. The average wealth of a white family is $125,000, and within the next 10 years, it will triple.
Okay, but when you say wealth, you mean like transferable assets and stuff like that. What is your definition of wealth?
Yeah, assets, liquid, all that.
Okay, so you're saying the average black family only has about
$9,000 of wealth.
9,000.
Yes.
Okay, can you list your source, please? Because I like knowing these things.
I think it comes from the Department of Labor. Let me make sure. Let me make sure. I think that's where
Yeah,
it comes
just
from.
give me your source, and then also the source that white people make as much as you just claim. Because these are good. If the information that you're putting out is accurate and true, then we can discuss, as to why those disparages exist, and make we can get into the nucleus of it. But first, I gotta ascertain that the information you put out is true
Yeah,
before I can even comment on
yeah, it
it.
comes from the Fed, the Federal Reserve, and it also comes from a study by the NCRC. Let me see. Oh, yeah, they studied.
Okay.
It's a study by an organization called the NCRC, the National Community and Reinvestment
N
Coalition, and that was a study done in 2024.
NCRC,
Mhm.
and that study was done in 2002 to 24. And this is a nonprofit organization that you're giving me, right?
I
Because I'm
believe
looking at their
so.
website. This is a doc. All right. Well, let's see who's made this, because I don't want any bias. Well, I can tell you right now, it's gonna be biased because it has coalition at the end.
Just because it has coalition doesn't mean it's
Of it.
biased. That's kind of silly, bro.
Well, no, it's not silly. Well, hear my point. I'm saying for the most part, these organizations, coalition, mean they're grouping themselves with someone else. So normally they take a stance on something, and they're just not putting information out there. Normally they do have a prescribed belief.
Well,
That's
hold
all.
on.
That's the
Wait,
only point I'm
but
trying to make.
but you already admitted that redlining was a thing that happened, right? Because this is what they showed, that redlining is what caused this wealth gap. So, but you
Okay.
already
No,
know
no, no.
that. So, and
Okay.
they just back it up.
So where's the article? The article that you're referencing. I'm sorry. The article that you're referencing. Where is it saying that Black America only um, makes about they only have $5,000 worth of wealth?
Oh, that's you wrong.
Because I'm
It's about
following you. I
nine.
want to follow you.
It's about 9,000. It's called the racial wealth gap, 1992 to 2022.
Okay. And what's the source to that? From these people? Where did they get their source from? Is it from a .gov? Because I don't like dealing with .orgs. I don't like dealing with .coms or .orgs. I like dealing with .edus, PDFs, to where it has some collegiate research
I mean,
to it, and I can.
it's like a 20-page paper, bro. They have all the sources, the methodology, all on the site, and they link redlining to exactly what this issue is. Like,
I know, but
I'm not sure.
okay.
Like, I didn't do the
Okay.
study, so you have to overread it. But that's the conclusion of the
Okay.
study.
Okay, that's fair enough. We will definitely we'll have to digress, because we'll both research to see how deep we can get into how true it is. But yeah, I'll go on to the third on your list. Reparations for Black Americans. Um, I think we definitely going to be 50-50 split on here. I think we'll have some common ground, but to a certain extent. I believe, because you had a lot of Black inventors, Washington Carver, Susan B. Anthony. It's a lot of people who invented things that aren't receiving any residual income. They're not receiving any royalties from the things in which help produce the products that we have today. I don't believe a whole entire community should receive something that uh, 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 um, a group of other Black people. I don't think we should take, I guess, responsibility for something that someone else did. So if you have the families of these people, you have the generations who may be alive today, I do think they should be paid something, especially, even the invention or the reinventing of the cotton gin. I think those people should be paid, circumvented for what they contributed to America. I do. But the reparations you're talking about, you mean just as in a whole, all black people should just be paid for slavery? Is that correct or no?
When it comes to the United States, I think specifically Black Americans should get reparations, not just for slavery, but for Black codes, for redlining, and for Jim Crow, because those are things that economically affected them. Now, me, I'm a
Okay.
descendant of Haitian immigrants, right? I don't think I should get the reparations from the United States. I think I should get reparations from France for slavery, for the indemnification, for economic and political like interference, those things that politically and economically affected Haiti.
Okay. Um, okay, I understand. I would have to disagree to that point because, Great Britain were the first ones to abolish slavery.
Haiti was.
Um, well, Haiti, I mean, I can't get, stuck into, the historical inaccuracies from both sides. I can't.
Okay.
I don't
Haiti
like
did it in
art. Yeah.
1804, Great Britain in 1835. So Haiti was first.
So Haiti was trafficking African slaves.
No. Haiti wasn't trafficking African slave. They abolished it in their lands in 1804. And then
Okay,
Great
I'm
Britain
not
followed
talking about
after it in
slavery
18.
in general.
You're talking about this, the
No, no, no.
trade?
I'm talking about the transatlantic slave trade. That's what I'm referencing.
Oh,
I'm not talking about slavery as in a whole.
yeah, trade. Yeah, the trade. Yeah, they did that afterwards. The British did it after Haiti did it, because the Haitian Revolution affected all those issues. Everybody else started rebelling. I mean, there were always rebellions going on, but since Haiti was effective
Yeah.
and the first one to be successful, that sent shockwaves everywhere. So everybody else just started saying maybe we should abolish it.
So you're going to have to Africa, if you're talking about reparations for slavery, Africa is going to have to play a part in that too. They're going to have to pay because they played a big part in selling their people to the people who were trying to transport slaves back to the Americas. So Africa is going to have to play a part in that. So when do you start to say, okay, this African country owes reparations also, along with these Anglo-Saxon colonist countries? Where do you draw the line of who's going to be paying?
Right. The African kingdoms that that participated, do they still exist?
The countries that participated in slavery, do they still exist?
Yeah, the Ashanti Kingdom, the Dahomey, do they still exist?
I mean, there's remnants of their kingdom still here, yeah, but that doesn't matter because all of the people that were from back then that participated in slavery from Great Britain, they're not here. So I don't think it would be
Right. I'm
wise
not
to
talking
use
about
that
the.
point.
I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the contiguous
The
country.
region.
Yeah, I'm talking about not just the
Okay.
region. I'm talking about the actual contiguous country, like the Dahomey Kingdom that was participating in the slave trade. That no longer exists. The wealth that was gained by them no longer exists. But the wealth that was gained from France and the UK from the slave trade, those do still exist. That's why France has the Eiffel Tower. All those do still exist. So like
Okay.
how can
So
we get reparations from a country that no longer exists? Like it is a conversation to have. It is a conversation to have. I'm not even against it, right? I'm not even against it. If the wealth that was gained in the slave trade is still exists within the wealth of some of the ethnic groups or some of the ethnic tribes or traditional kingdoms in Africa, if that wealth still exists, then yeah, that's a conversation to have of getting reparations from them too. But like if it's no longer there, what are we gonna do?
Okay, yeah, because Africa built some of their wealth off trade. Every single country has participated in some form of slavery. And I don't want to say every because there's over 198 countries, and I can't digress to each country's history and show, hey, this is where slavery was. But every single country from the first century Rome participated in slavery. Every single country. What made our history when it comes to Black history and American history, much more prominent and got much more notoriety is because of the treatment of the slaves. and I know you because you're a learned person. You know about the Willie Lynch letters
Mm-hmm.
and how the white man from the West Indies, they reached out to him to see how he controlled his slaves through flogging, castration, through lynching. The name lynching comes from his name.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, the point I'm trying to make is every single country that participated in slavery, those people have moved on from slavery. The only one that are still really harping on slavery and trying to receive some type of financial reimbursement is our people, the black community. And I think it's a waste of time because W.E.B. Du Bois said it's a foolish waste of time to try to compel a majority to do something that they are set not to do.
Right. No,
So I think it is a waste of time.
yeah, my bad.
You think I'm
No, yeah, so yeah, yeah, I get that point, right? I'm not even like I don't even have a huge beef with it because there are people who said that we shouldn't even concentrate on trying to get reparations. We should, just try to build ourselves up because they're never gonna give it to us, and the way that'll happen is much too complicated for it to happen now. I get that. That's not something that
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a beef with that position. The reason why I think it should happen, still should happen, is because the effects of slavery still last until this day. Like, for example,
Okay.
the entire criminal stereotype of black people that came from slavery. You know what I mean? Like the way that
Okay.
we're dehumanized in the United States, just the Western world period, not just the United States, but just the Western world period. It came from slavery. You know what I mean? Like the little social attitudes I'm talking about when it comes to discrimination and building wealth and everything, all that. That's where it all came from. So it still affects us until this day, which is why I think that the best way, in order to rectify that, is to have reparations, not just a cash payment out, but changing of the systems, the way the education system works, the way the criminal justice system works in America. All that should be part of reparations in order to change it. But as far as we
Okay.
should probably just work between ourselves because these motherfuckers are never going to give us nothing. Let's just work between ourselves in order to
Mm-hmm.
build that power. I don't have beef with that, like not at all. I
Okay.
think we could do both of them at once, in my opinion. But that's why I advocate for. I said this should still happen because it's the right thing to do. The government broke the Black American community, so they should be the one to repair it. But if we're of the attitude of we need to start focusing on ourselves and maybe advocate for this on the side, I'll have a beef with that.
Okay. So, and you said the Western countries, they all participated in racism, which is true. They all participated in some form of prejudice. But the country in which you listed for Black people to go to, which would be Canada and the UK, those
Mm-hmm.
countries are still in the West.
Yeah,
So those countries, in retrospect to your premise, would still be bad for Black America. So I think the best place for us to say is more than likely the U.S. Reparations should be sought after on more of a more logical, coherent, um, relevant projection than just this broad statement of handing out money to all Black people in America because of racial disparities. I believe if you go after like the inventors, I think that's a big deal. I think KFC should be playing the Black mother who came up with those, the recipes that who they sold to Colonel Sanders or whatever for, however much money, and they made billions and billions of dollars off of it. I think that family should be receiving some type of compensation for their contribution to that food chain.
agreed.
And if you go through history, if you go and you all you got to do is research the person who invented um the
The light bulb.
Alexander Graham, not Alexander, not Alexander Graham Bell, but him also, the telephone, but the traffic light, the
The traffic
traffic
light.
light.
No,
So,
all this I agree with you. Like I don't disagree at all. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, all that. Yeah, 100%. Oh, agreed.
yeah, they should search those families. Get Garrett Morgan. I remembered his name, Garrett Morgan, who invented the traffic light.
Mm-hmm.
They should research the lineage, of, the family tree of these people. And that is who I believe should be receiving reparations because they didn't receive a dime
No, I
for
agree
their
with that.
contributions.
I agree with that. Nah,
So
I'm not. I don't have beef with
I,
that at all. But I think if we go down the line, like, and you were to find out that your father or grandfather were also discriminated against in redlining, I think you should be compensated for that as well too. But you don't have to agree with me on that point. But like, if you found out that your grandparents were redlined against, I think you should receive compensation. But if
okay,
you
but
don't
why
want that,
why are
that's
you
fine.
against redlining though?
Hmm?
Why are you against like redlining? Like,
Redlining was what was a program to purposely keep black people poor. It wasn't that the black people couldn't get the loans or couldn't pay back the loans. They just didn't give it to them. And when they did, they gave them higher interest rates, just like how you said earlier, like predatory loans, give them higher interest rates, knowing they can't pay it in order for
yeah,
them to fail and get the housing and land back. Like that's what it was all. That's
okay,
what redlining was all about. So if you found out that happened in your lineage, like your personal lineage, like it happened to your grandfather or even your father, then yeah, you should be compensated for that because that was like the government was involved in doing that. Like they literally gave guidelines to it. Um, Not just the government, but also Citigroup. Well, Citigroup actually affected Haiti. Like a lot of people don't know that, but Citigroup, J.P. Morgan
okay,
Chase, all of them were involved in doing that. You know what I mean? So I think if we have a program of finding out that my grandfather or my father was discriminated against by a higher interest rate in their housing, or their house was appraised discriminatorily, it was appraised like in a racist fashion, or they were just redlined out. I mean, then yeah, I think you should receive some compensation from the state because of that.
okay. I'm not going to disagree, but when it comes to um, being a financial risk, because redlining was all the way back from the sometime in the 1900s. So they found out that when they did give out these loans, that they could not pay them back. So some aspects of redlining, I don't even like using that term, but I think there is a way in which you should, deny loans based on, the person's economical status, because if they can't pay it back, then they'll foreclose on your home, and then you'll be you can possibly end up being homeless. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I'm all about so-called reparations for contribution, not institution. Meaning, I don't want us to receive reparations based off of some so-called supposed black institutionalized racism. I would rather have reparations given through the contributions that we did to America. To me, I believe it sounds so much more coherent to go about that argument in that way than to say, "Hey, you need to give us money because if that's the case, I mean, Genghis Khan, all of the people who were mutilated and murdered by those conquerors and those people from back then. They could say, well, hey, the Mongols, they owe this group, or and I just think you would get lost in the weeds trying to check and balance every single person that's ever discriminated or ever done evil or wrong to a certain group or community.
I think the reason why
And
that wouldn't apply is because when it comes to Black America, those we literally still see those effects. Like I said with the wealth gap, I mean that literally came from redlining, so the effects are still apparent. Redlining is what caused like O Block. I mean, up in Chicago.
yeah,
So it's not something that happened thousands of years ago, and Genghis Khan doesn't exist anymore, even though 1% of his descendants are still alive today. I mean, it's not something like that. That's like that. It's something that is still, even though it was made illegal 40 years ago, it still affects us today. I mean, much of the
yeah.
contemporary issues that African Americans have is tied to that era. So if we're still living the effects of that era, why should not go back and repair it? That doesn't really compare to like everyone else in that had those issues, probably except for Native Americans. I would say Native Americans probably the only other group in America that are still affected by the eras past, but everyone else is really
Native
isn't.
Americans owned slaves too.
Yeah, they did. They really did, and I'm not sure how those reparations would happen. I wouldn't be able to explain that, tell you the truth. But when it comes to the government policies that affected Black Americans, uh, redlining and Jim Crow would be one of the main ones that I think that we can still rectify. Because we still see
Okay.
the
And do
effect
you
until
think there's
today.
still remnants? You think there's still remnants of Jim Crowism? And you said institutionalized racism. I would like for you, because I don't believe there is a specific institution set up just to disparage Black people. I believe the institutions that are set up are not used in a correct, meaningful way. And yes, it can disproportionately affect certain communities, especially the Black community. So when you say institutionalized racism and systems, can you explain exactly what systems and what you mean?
Yeah, we already went through real estate, but there's also employment in the United States of America. We see that's heavily discriminatory. Like I said, you can have the same education, the same experience, and still be discriminated against in the job market. There's also the healthcare system. That's a big one. Where there's heavy discrimination in there, where Black patients are treated more as if they're drug seeking. Black pregnant women have a higher rate of infant more not I said infant mortality, yeah, infant mortality. Even Black babies are more likely to die at the hands of a white doctor than they are in a Black doctor. That was a study made back in 2019. I'm not sure if they updated it till now. The criminal justice system, we see that all the time, right? People usually say that the
Yes.
reason why Black perps get longer sentences is because they're more likely to have a longer rap sheet. They even looked into that. They compared the rap sheet of a Black Black convict and a white convict,
Yeah.
and even when they have
Yeah.
a similar rap sheet, they found that the Black convict still gets a longer sentence. So there's discrimination happening there.
So,
You see what I mean? So like
okay.
all of those are
So can I just
also,
touch on that?
yeah. 1 second. Also, the exoneration rates show that the exoneration rates between like the arrest rate and the exoneration rate are basically the same. Like when it comes to murder, right? Black people represent about 52 to 55% of the arrests for murder, but we're also about 55% of the exonerations for murder. You know what I'm saying? So it shows that we're arrested
Hmm.
more, but we're also convicted wrongly more of the same crime, which shows an issue there. You see what I mean?
Okay. Okay. No, understandable. I appreciate how you laid all of that out. I just wanted to, I'm not going trying to beat a dead horse. I just wanted to say when you said the system with redlining, just so we both understand that redlining was for financial risk, people who in which they discriminated against, and did not give loans because they thought they would be a financial risk. Um, and the ending of itself, face value, I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. However,
Mm-hmm.
if there were people, and I don't have the statistics, if there were people who did have good credit, who were able to pay back that loan and stuff, and they said, well, just strictly because of your skin color, we're not going to give you the loan, would definitely be problematic, but it would also not make sense because banks only make money off of debt. So it would behoove them to actually sell debt, which, that's what they do on a day-to-day basis. But if they sell debt and they know those people will become delinquent or default on that loan, the bank would actually be losing money, especially if the people they don't have anything of value to hold up for collateral.
Okay.
So redlining and face value, I don't think is as bad as you say. But I'm going to digress because
Okay.
I just want to get to all
I
of the
got you.
other
But
great points
there's
you made.
I got you. But there's two issues with that, right? What you said about they were just discriminating because of their skin color. That's exactly what happened under redlining, and like you can really prove it because exactly what you said. They did have the money for it. They just denied them. I'm same thing with the GI Bill.
Okay.
With the GI Bill, when Black soldiers came back and the GI Bill was set up, they just denied them. It wasn't just like they didn't have anything to have collateral. It was just you're Black, you're denied. And the second thing
Okay.
is that when I understand like it wouldn't make sense for a bank to discriminate against it, right? That it doesn't seem to make sense. But at the end of the day, racism is not rational. If you're making decisions through that lens, you're not going to make a rational
Yeah.
decision. And not only that, racism can still
Okay.
be monetized. You know what I mean, if most of the market doesn't want to be around a certain people, you can still monetize that racism and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and sell you the debt, just like how you said, we'll go ahead and sell you the loan because it's away from black people. You know what I'm saying? You can
Okay.
monetize racism still, you feel me? But you did want to move on to the next thing.
Okay.
We've been on for almost 30 minutes. So I may have
Because
to
I
move
think
on
your
in a
group
bit,
is
but
loving it, man. They're not kicking us off.
yeah,
But I will jump to your last two, your last 2 points that you made, where can you give a reason to believe in your God or a God? I don't know. Are you atheist, agnostic,
I'm an agnostic atheist. Yeah.
agnostic? Well, that's contradicting
No, not
because
really, because
atheist,
like
an agnostic claims to not know or know, and the atheist claims to know
no, an
that
atheist,
there's no God that exists.
no, an atheist is just lack of belief.
Um, atheistic. Okay. Well, in my view, disbeliefs and in the existence of God, you're asserting that there is no God, whereas agnostic says, well, I don't know. I don't know anything, so I really have no opinion. God could exist or God couldn't exist.
Right.
Atheist is a disbelief in that existence, so that's why I said it's a bit contradicting.
Right,
But
right.
to answer,
That's not a
um,
But what I'm saying is that that's not a contradiction because yeah, I don't know whether or not a God exists or not. Right, I can't claim one way or another, but I don't believe in one. So there's no contradiction there.
uh, okay, the so you know what an agnostic? An agnostic is somebody that does not know if God exists. An
Hmm.
atheist claims there is no, substantial evidence to believe in God. Therefore,
Right.
they don't exist.
No,
So
and
that
I'm not
that
claiming. Right, but the atheism is simply a lack of belief because theism is a belief, right? So atheism is without belief. That's what it is. So I'm without a belief in a God, but I can't claim to know whether one not exists or not. So the agnostic part is I don't know whether one exists or not. I can't make the claim. The atheism part
you
is
would
I
be
don't believe in one.
agnostic.
Yeah, I would be agnostic
Okay,
and
okay,
atheist
whatever.
because atheism is lack of belief. I don't believe in one, so that makes me an atheist.
Okay, okay, no problem. Well, in your worldview,
Mhm.
how do you justify morality and ethics? Where does your ethics and morality stem from?
Empathy and consequences as a broad overall view. It's more complicated than that, but overall, to put it simply, empathy and the consequences.
Empathy and the consequences.
Hmm.
Okay, so what if you get someone who does not share? Because in Hitler's worldview during the Holocaust, he didn't have empathy,
Hmm.
or his empathy was only shared amongst his fellow people, the Nazis, and whoever helped him in his atrocities and stuff. So someone who does not view empathy as to how you view it, how would you justify um, that? How would you justify Hitler's Holocaust?
You can't.
So therefore, I mean, but you know that would
Wait, I'm sorry, Chris. Did you use the
that
wrong word? Because you said, how would I justify Hitler's Holocaust? I don't think you can justify Hitler's Holocaust because of the negative consequences. Did you use the wrong word?
okay, but you no, but you said it's through empathy. So how your morals come through empathy, through
Empathy and
sharing.
empathy and
Yeah, you share the
consequences.
same feelings.
Right, right. So
Yeah,
when it comes to when it comes to Hitler, his actions had extremely negative consequences. So there's no way to justify that, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like
but I'm pretty sure he was empathetic to his soldiers to a certain extent. his soldiers that were going out there committing these atrocities. I'm pretty sure he was empathetic to them. So that's his world view.
Right,
So
right.
if you,
Right. So my
I'm listening.
empathy, right, his empathy only is his empathy and his thought of consequences only like extended to his ideology, right? That's not what I'm doing. Like my entire thing is that I want to uplift the well-being of all humankind. Uh Eliminating 6 million people just because they're of a certain ethnic and religion group does not fall in line with that. That's
But that's your,
huge
but that's
negative
just your,
consequences.
you have no principle belief that you can hang that on. That is your opinion. You, as
Yeah,
a single Homo sapien individual, what are you, what is your basis for your beliefs?
the
And then as
consequence.
far as it comes to empathy,
Right. The right. One, I'm a human. All humans have empathy, except for like the people who have ASPD or are sociopaths. Because we're empathetic human beings, we all want to live in a happy, safe environment, right? So, like, in order to do that, antagonizing my neighbors or eliminating 6 million people from the world is not a very good way for me to it's kind of productive to that goal, right? And not only
where are
that,
you
so
getting that from?
what do you mean? Am I getting what from?
Where are you getting that? Like for me, as a Christian, I believe because in the Bible it falls in line with the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. So I have a reason or something that judicates
Mm-hmm.
my beliefs, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the word of God. So when it says don't kill, I know what Hitler did
Mm-hmm.
was wrong because I'm going off of what the Bible said.
Right.
So Hitler don't believe what he did was wrong.
No,
He was in his own worldview. So
right.
how were you receiving your um
How do I know what he did was wrong?
principle for ethics?
How do I know what he
Yeah.
did was wrong? Because of the negative consequences it had. 50 million people are no longer alive. That's
Well,
a bad thing.
from the river to the sea, Palestine doesn't believe Israel should be here. So
Right.
how was it wrong?
Israel
If they
should
if they if they
Israel
could
shouldn't Israel shouldn't exist even according to their own religion, because Israel can't come back until the Messiah comes, and the Messiah didn't come in their religion. So even according to their own
okay, so
religion,
why
Israel shouldn't exist.
is what Hitler believed any different than what the Palestinians believe of not having Israel on the map?
Because
Why is there a
they're not
difference?
calling for the elimination of an entire ethnic group from the
They
planet.
did. Yeah,
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 yeah, sure.
they
Hamas
did.
is.
Can I share a
No,
video?
no, no, no. Hamas is. I'm not going to say that Hamas doesn't. Hamas does. Probably Hezbollah does as well. But the Palestinians in
Yeah.
general, that's not the case. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
I don't even think for the Israelis in general. You can find Israelis that said that the Palestinians
Yeah.
should all be wiped off the map too. But that doesn't mean that Israelis, period, believe that. Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure that you'll find videos of a few Palestinians that say all Jews should be wiped off the map. I'm pretty sure you'll find videos of Jewish Israelis saying all Palestinians should be wiped off the map. Sure, there are people who believe in disgusting things, but I don't believe those
Yeah.
groups of people in general believe that. Yeah, I mean I don't believe that the
Okay.
Palestinians are necessarily Hitler, because they don't think that Israel should be on their land.
Okay, and that's understandable. I was just trying to, make the point that, and when you give an objective appraisal on morality and ethics, right, and you are the sole person who determines what is so-called good and what is so-called bad, I believe you leave yourself in a truncate area to where you're confined to only what you believe, and your views can be flawed. I think you need to have something outside of yourself, because men and all men have sinned and come short of the glory of God.
Okay,
So
well
I don't
here's two
believe you
things I
can
would say.
find.
I got you. Here's two things I would say.
Yeah.
You're in my same position, because like at the end of the day, what you believe is based off of an arbitrary being. So if tomorrow God were to come down and said eating babies is fine, that would be moral according to you because God said it. So but the second thing that I
But
would
we
say,
already have God's word
hold
that
on,
doesn't say that.
that's the second
Okay.
thing I was going to come to. You don't know if that's true or not. You can't prove a God exists.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
I can prove a God exists. See what
Okay,
atheists,
I want you to
I
do
think
this for
they
me. I want you to do this
fall.
for me. I want you to do this for me.
Okay.
I can prove the moon exists because we can look into a telescope and you can see it. How do you prove that God exists?
Okay. How do you prove that air exists? Can you see air?
Yes, molecules.
How do you prove your heart? How do you prove your heart exists? You
X-rays.
take your heart out of your chest every single day.
Yes,
You get an
X-rays.
X-ray every single day to make sure your heart
No,
exists.
we don't get an X-ray
Every single day.
Hold on, listen. You're not actually answering my question. So we can
I
prove
am.
that air exists through molecules, right? They're air
And we can
molecules.
prove that
We can
God
prove out.
exists
Hold on, let me
through
finish.
historical
Let
artifacts.
me finish.
Okay.
We can prove my heart
Okay.
exists because we all know how biology works. Without the heart, your brain would die in 5 minutes. So when it comes to a being that created the universe, that somehow exists outside of space and time, that made himself into a baby and then died on the cross and rose in 3 days, how do we actually prove all that is real? How do we do that? Because we can't go back in time.
Okay.
So there's no way you can go talk to Jesus yourself. So how do you prove that he actually
Absolutely. And
healed the
there's no
blind man?
way and there's no way you can go back in time and prove that a Big Bang existed. Everybody thinks that the burden of proof lies on the Christian, and it doesn't. You're an atheist. You scientifically notate everything. You need everything as a basis off evidence.
We have evidence
So
of the
you
Big
tell
Bang.
me, and hold on. And in order for your so-called theory, and keyword theory of evolution.
Okay, so you don't know what theory is?
It was never a basis of fact, right? Because it's a theory. And then secondly, you can be able to replicate if what you're saying is true, the thing that makes science and so-called factual is that you can take it, break it down to its molecule state, and then you can replicate it.
Okay,
Let me
read something to you. Let me read something to you. All right, let me read something to you. A scientific theory is an explanation of an aspect of the natural world that can be or has been repeatedly tested, and has corroborating evidence in accordance with the scientific model. So, what would you call that?
Okay, I'll read it again. I'm so sorry. I'm listening.
A scientific theory is an explanation of an aspect of the natural world that can or has been repeatedly tested and has corroborating evidence in accordance with the scientific model. If something has been repeatedly tested and has corroborating evidence, what do you call that?
How did they test the Big Bang? How did they test the Big Bang?
Yeah, they looked out into the universe and they saw.
No.
Yes, they did. That's exactly how they proved it.
That's not.
Yes, they did. This is exactly how they proved. They looked out into the universe and they saw that everything was redshifting. When things are redshifting, that means they're moving away from each other, right?
Okay, I'm listening.
And there's also the cosmic microwave background radiation. The cosmic microwave background radiation shows that everything is radiating out in all light years. Basically, everything is pushing away from each other. The cosmic microwave background radiation is the basic proof that the Big Bang happened. Ooh.
Okay, so who created the Big Bang? Something cannot come from nothing. So who created it?
Why is it a who? How come it can't be a what?
What? What created it?
We don't know.
Oh, hold on. It sounds like you're using this word that Christians use every single day, faith. It sounds like your faith. Your faith is in your theology. You just said you don't know.
Yeah, but that does. But I'm not making a claim. I'm not making a claim. I didn't say any. I didn't make a claim on what created the Big Bang. But we know the Big Bang happened through the evidence that we have. We know that it happened through the evidence of the cosmic.
How? When?
The cosmic microwave background radiation. That's one proof.
Okay.
And galaxies redshifting.
Okay.
That's another proof. So we know things are so when we know things are pushing away from each other, we also know that they had to be you can reverse it and see that everything was close together at a certain point, right? That's just basic math.
Okay.
But the second thing that I would say is that when you say what or who caused it, we don't know what or who caused it, but I'm not making a claim of what or who caused it. So wait, hold on, wait, stop. No, you don't.
You don't have to make a claim to have faith.
No, you don't. Okay, I'll mute you real quick. That's not how faith works. You have to actually be making some sort of claim to show that you have to make a claim of a certain phenomenon. According to you, God made the Big Bang. That's faith, because there is no evidence of a God yet, or at all, actually. I should say. When it comes to the Big Bang, we do have evidence of that. When it comes to what caused it, we don't know, but we're not making any claim on what caused it. If I were to make a claim on what caused it without any evidence at all, then that would be faith. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to try to give you a syllogistic breakdown of type of faith.
No, no, no. We're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I didn't make a claim on hold on, stop. I didn't make a claim on what caused the Big Bang. So therefore, no faith is included.
Okay.
We don't have to do any type of
fine. I'm going to tell you. Okay, I have a theological faith, right? I would say you have an implicit trust, faith / faith. You have a reliance on something that has not been proven. You cannot give me proof of how the Big Bang was created. We both use.
But I didn't make a claim. I didn't make that claim. But I didn't make that claim.
But you don't.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
I didn't make a claim on what caused the Big Bang. So you saying that I have a faith on what caused the Big Bang is stupid because I didn't make a claim. I didn't say what caused the Big Bang, did I? So you can't say that I have faith in what caused Big Bang if I didn't make a claim on what caused it. That's ridiculous.
Okay. All I'm saying is you just said, I'm going off of your statement, you do not know what caused the Big Bang. That is an implicit.
I don't know.
Okay, so that is it. You if you do not know, but you're still relying on something that does not have proof, because you just said you don't know what caused it.
We don't know what caused it, but we know that it happened. That's the thing. We don't know what caused it, but we know that it happened because we have evidence that it happened. What caused it is a completely different question. You can't say that I'm providing something that has no proof. I don't know what caused the Big Bang, so I can't say that. Oh, it was an alien called Q-Pax. If I were to say that, then you would have a point that said, okay, you have faith because you can't prove Q-Pax. But if I say the Big Bang happened, yeah, we have evidence of the Big Bang happening, but we don't know what caused it. Saying I don't know what caused it is not faith.
So you have evidence of the Big Bang happening, but you don't have evidence, and you don't have the know-how
of what caused it. Correct.
What caused it.
Correct.
That makes absolutely no sense. You tell me where that's relevant in the real world, to where we have evidence that something that what you said, this big astronomical event took place, but we have no evidence of what or who may have caused it.
There's not a lot of things. I won't be able to tell.
Okay, so only point I'm gonna make is, like I said before, I mentioned there is no way for you to scientifically duplicate. They can clone, they can do all of these things. If they have all of the evidence in the world that the Big Bang happened, they would absolutely be able to put science, in evidence, and they would be able to recreate the Big Bang.
Have you ever heard of particle colliders?
All of these things. Ever heard of what?
A particle collider, CERN. You ever heard of that?
Absolutely not. Explain.
Yeah, CERN is a particle collider. What they do is that they take particles like quarks and leptons.
I do. I have heard.
Yeah, and they collide them together and to see what happens. And what they see, what happens is basically the conditions that we see from the Big Bang. So they actually have recreated it.
Awesome. So stars, they created stars, planets, life, humans, animals.
No. Because they blip out of existence within like a few milliseconds and stuff like that. But the conditions, basically the heat, the things that we would see from the conditions of the early Big Bang, they're able to recreate it in CERN. But something like this, you have to talk to a particle physicist, because I'm only explaining a very simple part of it. You should talk to a particle physicist. And this is the thing that I've always said, right? With Christians, when it comes to people who don't believe, we have to be experts in biology and astrophysics and all these things for you to believe it. But you can go. You just go talk. You just go to a university and talk to an astrophysicist and ask them, "Hey, how does the Big Bang work, and what proof do we have of it?" And they'll explain it to you. Like, why are you asking me?
I live daily. Faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. I do not need to see. Oh, hold on. I do not need to see in order to believe.
Great.
I believe.
Did the Greeks have faith?
Cease.
Did the Greeks have faith?
Did the what?
Did the Greeks have faith?
Did the Greeks have faith? And what
in
period?
Zeus.
In Zeus. You're asking me if the Greeks had faith in Zeus?
Yes.
I guess you break it down for me. I can see your point.
The Greeks absolutely had faith in Zeus because they built temples to him. We see the temples, right? So they had faith in Zeus.
You can have faith in the wrong thing.
Let me
I never said you can't.
Let me finish. They had faith in Zeus, and we know they had faith in Zeus because they built temples to them. And something that we even do still to this day, the Olympic Games were all to worship Zeus. So they all had faith, right? And just like how you said, you can have faith in the wrong thing. You can have absolute faith and be wrong, which means faith is unreliable. You need something more.
No, yeah, but faith in the right thing is not unreliable.
How do you know what you're saying is? How do you know you're right? How do you know you're right? How do you tell the difference between? Hold on, wait, hold on. How do you tell the difference between the wrong thing you have faith in and the right thing you have faith in? What do you do? What do you need?
Well, it's going to be self-conviction. It's going to be the spirit. If the spirit of God.
Do you have evidence of a spirit?
There's
okay, sure. What's the evidence of a spirit?
Absolute evidence. It's metaphysics, and I know you sound like a learned man.
Metaphysics, metaphysics is not evidence, bro.
Okay, but it's dealing outside of the physical realm. There's a spiritual realm. Whether
okay, prove a spiritual realm, bro.
There's things that take place in this world that happen outside of
physical reality.
Domain.
Great. How do you prove
physical reality? It's easy. You look at every single athlete. I want you list your greatest so-called atheists in the world, and I'm going to list my greatest athletes, my greatest accomplishers in the world, and let's juxtapose your group of people, your group of so-called atheists, against my group of people who actually accomplished much in this world.
That doesn't prove anything.
I'm going to start off with. Hold on,
Chris, stop. This is ridiculous. That doesn't prove anything. You can list off a whole. Hold on, no, it doesn't prove anything. You can list off a whole bunch of people who accomplish many great things, or who are huge athletes and are billionaires. That doesn't make a God exist. So what?
Yeah, we're not talking. We're saying strictly faith. They have faith in the supreme being.
So what?
And therefore, that
doesn't make a God exist. But that doesn't make a God exist. Yeah, faith can make you do things. Hold on, wait. Faith can make you do great things. No one is denying that. That doesn't make what you have faith in true.
Yeah, Charles Darwin's wife, who wrote the book on so-called your evolution theory. His wife was Christian. After his daughter died.
No, wait. The deathbed confession? That's a lie. His daughter said that never happened.
Okay. Well, now I can't argue history or genealogy because we'll just be both going around in a circle.
Yeah, his daughter said that never happened. So if you're gonna say that Darwin had a deathbed confession, his daughter said that never happened.
Charles Darwin's daughter. You talked to Charles Darwin's daughter when she died. How could she say it didn't happen?
Because she already gave out a statement before she died and said that this wasn't true. Because what you're saying was a rumor around when she was alive, and she said that didn't happen.
Okay. So I got to hear this. This is you giving me. This is mind blowing. You're telling me Charles Darwin's daughter did what again? Say it again.
What you're saying, right? That Charles Darwin had a deathbed confession. That was a rumor that was going around when Charles Darwin's daughter was alive, and she had to come out and said that never happened.
A 10-year-old girl came out and said, and you are blowing my mind. She died at the age of 10, and a 10-year-old girl had the knowledge in order to put out so-called a press release. What you're saying is wrong, and I know you know it, and you were hoping that I didn't have my information on this, but you're telling me a 10-year-old girl so-called put out a press release that, hey, what exactly are you saying? Break it down to me about this 10-year-old girl who died at 10 years.
You realize that Darwin had more than one child, correct?
Okay, so I'm talking about the girl who was 10, of course.
All right, so there were people who were around Darwin when he was dying, and he had other children who were present. And I'm talking about his daughter, Henrietta. He had other children. I'm talking about his daughter, Henrietta Litchfield. Litchfield. That's Darwin's daughter, Henrietta Litchfield.
Okay. All right. So what age did she die?
Henrietta Litchfield. Let me look that up. Give me 1 second. Henrietta Litchfield, born 1843, died 1927. So close to her 40s, I'm thinking, or actually, her close to her 80s. Henrietta Litchfield was Darwin's daughter, and she died at 80. She was the one that told. She was the one that said that he didn't say that. Henrietta Litchfield. So she didn't die at 10.
Obviously because she's an atheist. Okay, so she has.
So she's just lying.
She has to.
Come on, that's that. No. Stop. Because you first said that what I claimed about Darwin's daughter is incorrect, and then I actually gave you the name of Darwin's daughter who died at 80, and said that's incorrect. And now you're saying that she's just lying.
His daughter died. His wife, they put in her
bro. Again. Henrietta Lynchfield is the daughter of Charles Darwin, and she was born in 1843 and died in 1927. Okay. That's 84 years old. She was there at Darwin's deathbed. She said that didn't happen.
It doesn't matter what she says. The wife of Charles Darwin said it did.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move on because I'm not dealing with this. All right. So what's his name? Hey, Shaman, you had someone before you, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to you in a second. All right. I've been on that with that person for an hour. That's my longest call.